we've obviously talked about Najee's usage. That has been something that has been talked about a ton this season. Then even more so when we got the news about his foot, just popping up on the injury report a week ago. Now, granted, he was still able to go out there in the game and play at an extremely high level, but it was still like what it's been in terms of not a lot of running backs being able to come in and spell him, being able to compliment him, and ultimately take some of the workload off of this man before it gets too bad. And then we obviously saw what L. Bell was able to do in Baltimore. Is actually scoring some touchdowns for them, man. But more so, the biggest thing for me when I was seeing L. Bell in Baltimore, just the change in philosophy. That was the knock on him, right? When he obviously left here, the question was, okay, how interested is he in playing ball? Then also, how interested is he in coming into a role where he wouldn't be the guy, where he wouldn't be, RB1? Would he be open to that or not? And I know a lot of people were on the fence about that, but I do think what he did in Baltimore, even though it wasn't for the full season, it did show his willingness to be in this type of role. And then also, he looked like he was enjoying it at times. I mean, you talk about a guy, he was on practice squad.
You see his post. He's
he
posting like a sob story. Oh, man, thanks for everything.
Yeah.
You guys meant to me being a part of this organization. It's like, bro.
Like, seriously,
they didn't give you many opportunities and they just cut you.
But to me, like watching him, like you see him when he would score touchdowns for them, he was hype. Even when he was still on practice squad and they elevated other running backs ahead of him, he still was engaged with those guys, still never was going out there becoming a cancer or anything like that. So for me, when I saw that, I'm like, man, all right. Like, I kind of like this right here. I could see how he's turned over a new leaf. Now, I'm not 100% sure in terms of why they released him. I saw Freddie G187 asking that. I don't know 100%. I think
it was just to bring up someone else from a different position.
Because I was going to say a lot of times that is how it goes. It won't be necessarily this player is playing bad or he's a issue. But when you're talking about a guy that is in rotation with three other running backs, and of the rotation, he was definitely the third guy. Even though he was scoring and he still had a role, he was the third guy behind Murray and Freeman. So when you're talking about, hey, if we got an injury and I need an extra corner, we got an injury, I might need an extra lineman or a linebacker. Well, now we're going to start looking around and say, well, okay, can we pull from here? Can I get somebody from there? And that could have easily been it. Like I said, I don't know 100% because I don't know all the details on it. But in terms of why a guy could get released and it not be a negative, it could easily be that because it's in season and it's so much related to just game day roster. Since you have that limit on how many you can dress.
That's what I heard because the Ravens are actually still hopeful they signed Bell to their practice
squad, yeah.
Which, based off Bell's tweet, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if he's letting that fly.
Well, it's just a different dynamic because when L. Bell first came in the league, the rules were still how they were when I was in the league. Practice squad was for year 1 and year 2 guys, and it was pretty much for guys that weren't good enough to be on an active roster, guys that needed to be developed. Honestly, I remember telling myself when I got drafted, like, I could never be on a practice squad because it was just always viewed as JV, not good enough. Whereas now, because of the COVID, rules and stuff like that, they've changed that dynamic. So now practice squad is not a bad thing. It's like, hey, we don't have a spot for you right now, but stay here because we're going to bring you back, however many weeks or however we want to do it. And it's no longer dependent on your age or your skill level. So that's the only thing with L. Bell, even though he might not want to right now, I could see him easily changing his mind because I'm sure he didn't want to go on their practice squad earlier in the season either.
Yeah.
And he was up there for a couple of weeks, but it's just a different perception with practice squad now with the rules being changed. Whereas beforehand, nobody wanted to be on practice squad because you just felt like, bro, I'm nice. Like I'm supposed to be out there. I'm supposed to be on the active roster. Like, don't play me like that. So yeah.
To piggyback off what you were saying with Le'Veon Bell kind of accepting this role with Baltimore, that was one of the concerns I had whenever we were talking about bringing Le'Veon Bell and after we drafted Najee Harris. Before, I was all for it because James Conner was a free agent. Didn't look like we were re-signing him. The best RB we had was like Benny Snell. So it's why not bring in Le'Veon Bell? He would be our RB1 right now and it would be a cheap contract. After we signed Najee, it's like, nah, we know Le'Veon Bell's history here with Pittsburgh, the type of running back he was. Let's let Najee Harris carve out his own path, establish himself. But at this point,
that path has been established.
It's definitely established. Definitely established.
He done carved up, motherfucker.
And Le'Veon Bell has obviously made it known that he's cool being a role player. He's cool with being a backup running back. And right now, Who would you rather have? Him, Kalen Ballage, Benny Snell, or Anthony McFarland?
That's for me the part that you bring up where I'm just like, when you're comparing him to Benny or Kalen Ballage, it's no different than when we talked about the Odell situation. It's like we're comparing Odell to a guy like Ray McLeod or James Washington in some of those instances. And even though you might not like a player's mentality, it's like you can't sit here and say that player isn't better than those players, because Odell is. I mean, this track record speaks for itself with that situation.
100%. And even though his numbers don't look that good this year, one, lack of opportunities. Mm-hmm. Two, there were questions beforehand with the Ravens how the fit would be because of Le'Veon Bell's running style.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with their system...
He showed that, though. He showed that he could fit there a little bit.
Exactly. Like, he had the one game in Week 9 against the Vikings, 11 rushes, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show, I don't think he's completely washed up. Now, maybe my initial take of he still has it fully, maybe that's a little bit wrong, but even what I saw from the Chiefs last year, I just thought it was more based off lack of opportunity, because when he got the ball, he was making dudes miss. He looked pretty fine to me, so I think it's definitely a worthwhile look for us.
Yeah, for me, man, I would love. Well, I won't say love. I would like it a lot, just because I'm biased. First off, because I shared the locker room with the dude. That's my guy. I would like it a lot more if we didn't already have a Najee Harris, because for me, think about when we talk about change of pace, right?
They are very similar,
right? And that's my thing. Like when I think of L. Bell, I'm like, obviously he's diminished, right? He's no longer the L. Bell that we knew and loved, could do it all perfect back. So to me, I'm saying to myself, is he an upgrade over Benny Snell or Kalen Ballage? I do think as a complete player, but a guy that can still block, a guy that can still catch consistently, a guy that can get you some tough yardage. But the reason why I personally win it is because I feel like he fits that same mold of what we already have in our depth chart. Like I want a change of pace guy, a speed guy, right? And that's why we're so high on McFarland, because it's like he gives us something different. Because the feeling I get right now is when Najee comes out, number one, I feel like it lets the defense off the hook, because you're running the same plays with guys like Benny Snell and Kalen Ballage that you would with Najee, but they're Najee light. They're Najee diet. You know what I mean? So it's like they don't hit the hole as hard. They don't make as many guys miss. They're not as, physically imposing. And I'm like, with L. Bell checks some of those boxes a little bit more, but even he isn't what Najee is. So once again, I feel like if Najee's coming off and they're putting one of those three guys out there to do the same thing, I'm going to feel a little let down. Matter of fact, the feeling that I feel seeing Najee come off the field for Benny Snell or Kalen Ballage, or even if this case, the hypothetical, it would be L. Bell, it's kind of how you feel when you see them take the quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're like going to run a fade, or they're going to wildcat. Like, yo, if you're going to do that, just keep my guy out there. That's how I feel when I see, us run some of these plays with Benny Snell or Kalen Ballage, or if it was going to be L. Bell, I'm like, I don't want that. Just run it with Najee. If L. Bell was a speed back, I would be 100% for it, regardless of the history, because I do think we need an extra piece back there, because it's only a matter of time before, man, the wheels will literally fall off of that kid in terms of Najee. But to me, L. Bell, he just still fits what we currently already have. And that's my only issue. That's my only reason why I wouldn't say to do it, just because I think we still need some type of change of pace, some type of speed element.
Well, McFarland just needs to be healthy.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because I'm more than willing to give him opportunities, but if he's not on the field, that's why I think Le'Veon Bell, I'd be 100% good with, because of the whole Najee Harris injury situation. If he goes down or he's missing like a game or two, I'd much rather have Le'Veon Bell out
100%
with Ben. But like, I just don't know how that dynamic's going to work then with the roster. We bring him in. Do we cut Ballage? We cut Snell? Snell's performed on special teams.
So it would have to be Ballage, just based on the hierarchy of that, or they would go to a different position. But you wouldn't want to keep 4 RBs. Now you could do maybe practice squad, but my thing would be this: with what you were saying in terms of if Najee were to go down. When I think of it, is like, would I want to bring in L. Bell ahead of time?
Just for that? Or do
you wait until it happens and then you start to act accordingly after the fact? That's my only thing. Because I say to myself, L. Bell, if he's in Baltimore this whole time, L. Bell is going to continue to get reps. He's going to continue to at least be getting practice reps, right? In terms of him being on the practice squad. And as a practice squad player, you can sign them whenever you want to. So if he's on somebody's practice squad, I still feel good that, hey, if 3 weeks from now Najee were to go down, we can pick him up off the practice squad, implement him, and he'll be good to go. Because for L. Bill, I don't think it takes much for him to pick this up. And he already speaks a language that Ben speaks. So I think that those two will be able to get on the same page a lot faster. But in terms of, if he's just sitting now, if he doesn't sign with anyone, and we're talking 3-4 weeks down the line, and now Najee goes down, hopefully it doesn't happen. But if that were the case, now I feel a little bit more hesitant, because it's like, well, you haven't been getting actual like football reps. You haven't been doing actual like football plays, the cuts, because it's just different. Even as a practice squad guy versus an active roster guy, though, I would still take a practice squad guy that's been getting reps over a guy that's just been sitting at home for a couple of weeks, just because it's different, So for me, I don't know if I want to act proactive, in this sense, versus like with Najee. I still kind of want to wait, but I really would feel a lot better if McFarland was available sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. Because even what game did he play? Was it 2 weeks ago? Was it in the Browns game?
Browns game. Mm-hmm.
Did he get one touch, one carry or something? Just seeing him out there made the offense look a little bit different, because we didn't really feature him, but it was like, all right, this is cool to see McFarland. I like seeing that speed out there, but then he's out again this week. I don't even know why. Yeah. Is it because he was hurt?
Let me see.
I don't think so.
What they're saying with him.
Randomly inactive. I didn't see any other reports on him. Because you're right. If McFarland's good and he's taking maybe, 5 carries? Mm-hmm. Not even that. 5 snaps away from Najee.
We don't, like I said, we're not asking for much.
We don't really need to push for Le'Veon Bell, I guess. The thought I had, though, was whenever Mason made that little dump offer, he tried to dump it off to Balaj. I was like, damn, you know what, man? That should be Le'Veon Bell. If you're going to have a second running back in there, I would like to see Le'Veon Bell.
Go to L. Bill, Deke. Stop playing games.
But then you look, and how many snaps did the combination of Balaj and Snell get on offense last week? Was it 2 or 3?
Tops, yeah. But that was another reason why I was like, man, we are riding Najee.
That's what I mean. So if you bring in Bell, do you make it a priority to make sure he gets 7 snaps, 10 snaps?
Right.
Or do you just keep it like this? Because if you keep it like this, then it's not worthwhile to bring in Bell. Right. But if you bring him in and it's like, all right, we're making it a point to take some of the workload off Najee, I still think it's worth it a little bit. I think
if you make it a point, it makes sense. But at some point, you're going to have to dial Najee back a little bit. Not a ton, but
if it's McFarland, I'm fine with that then. I would like to see McFarland getting a chance. And I'm not even opposed. Whenever we were talking about Najee potentially being down, I think Balaj would have a chance. I just have more faith in Bell with his familiarity with the Steelers and Ben and stuff.
Well, and you got to think in terms of just career-wise. One player in terms of those 3 guys, L. Bill, Balaj, and Benny Snell, one guy was a all-pro for a reason. One guy has done this for multiple years at a high level, and even on the back end of his career, still showing key attributes: ball security, catching the ball, hitting the hole. Like, these are all qualities that we don't take for granted here in Pittsburgh, because we've seen with Benny Snell, one of the knocks on him is ball security. We know, you know what I mean? Like, we talk about catching. Like, those are some of the things where you're like, man, well, at least we know this guy. Like, this has been proven on multiple places, multiple years, multiple stops. That hasn't changed. So that is the other reason why I'm like, I could definitely understand it and it makes sense. I want to change. I want a little speed though, man. But,
just get McFarland on the field then.
But like you said,
you didn't see anything on his injuries?
I didn't. I just looked at the updated injury report.
I swear it was just him being inactive.
Yeah, because he's not on the updated injury report right now. It was just Ben, because it's off of yesterday. Be off of yesterday's report. And today's Wednesday, so they have their first official practice. But Dotson and TJ are listed as questionable. Mink and Ben are listed as out right now because of the COVID. And then Claypool is questionable as well.
Yeah, all I see, Anthony McFarland scratch. So I got to assume that's, whenever you say scratch,
that's like a healthy scratch, yeah.
That's usually what it means.
Mm-hmm. That's no different with what's happening with Banner. When he wasn't dressing his way, just be a healthy scratch.
Did they see something in the Browns matchup they like with McFarland and didn't see in the last game against the Lions?
Maybe he was on his phone in warm-ups, bro. Let me stop. I'm sorry. Manscaped. Shout out to Manscaped. You know, the leaders in below the waistline grooming. Not only, you know, do they do what they're supposed to do for your dangly twins, but they are safe. You feel me? In terms of waterproof, you can use them in the water. They have a light so you can see. This is Lawnmower 4.0 I'm referring to. I mean, it's just top notch. And we've talked about their new products, you know, that 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner. Gotta have a shampoo and conditioner. And you have to couple that with the body wash, all right? So that way you can get your head, you can get your shoulders, that body wash, you get your knees and your toes, as we've already told you numerous times, okay? And anytime, you know, when you manscape, sometimes you got a little excess hair, right? They might roll off. Well, when you use the body wash, they can get the rest of it off as well. And then when you get out the shower and you get all dressed and you got your taco meat showing out, you just hit it with that little cologne. And you'd be good to go. But as we always do when we talk about products, we have promo codes. Because if you don't have promo codes, what do you have in this world? All right. So the promo code is MOATS. Use that, man. You will get 20% off of your purchase along with free shipping worldwide. That made it sound like real big, right?
Yeah.
Worldwide.
I think it should be. Manscaped's doing some good things.
Absolutely, they are. And the fact that they're rolling with us means that we're going to roll with them, and we're glad to have them on board. So shout out to Manscaped. And trust me on this one, man. Your delicate twins, they'll thank you.